in the neighborhood, so anyone wants to drop in and ask us anything, we're here. Thanks again.
So you're there now, you'll be there, if anybody wants to stop by, just be.
Yeah, just tap on the window, we'll probably be in the dining room. We're cleaning the kitchen.
Here.
Okay, moving on. We have Chris Carrazza and a few people from the ATV club here that would like to say a few words.
Maybe start right out, right?
Right out.
Jeez, all right. It's pretty short. In regards to the ATV law that we proposed last year, as it's ongoing throughout the town, I reached out to a few of the town's people that I kind of knew to see if we could come to some kind of agreement or talk about moving forward on this proposed law. And they suggested that maybe we get a focus group together to discuss this between ourselves and townspeople. And we're asking the board if that's something that they would be willing to set up for us, or we need to do it on our own, or what they suggest, I guess, is what we're looking for.
Well, we, as I said, we talked amongst ourselves as a board, and we have looked at the fact, I know you requested it. We've had some comments from other people that were interested in us revisiting this law.
Yes.
So that's why we're here. We have the draft from the last law. We're going to kind of start there, and I want to have our attorney review it. It's a different attorney than when we had working on it before. So we're going to look over what we had, and I've asked the board to look at that and make some suggestions as well. And then what our plan is at this point, we're not going to take comments on that tonight because we don't have a draft in place at all. But what I'd like to do is we'd like to get our attorney to review it, and then we can either form a committee if that's what the board prefers, or we can maybe get a couple of people to kind of come to us with suggestions. And what we'd like to try to do is have a draft available for next month's meeting in May. So we'd like to hold on. And then wherever it goes from there, we can, once we get a draft that's acceptable to everybody, we still have to schedule a public hearing.
Right.
That would be the following month, and then after the public hearing. Right. So we're looking at a 2-month process. We're not trying to rush this. We're not trying to hide anything from anybody. Not trying to wear down anybody's throat. So we got 2 months. That's the tentative schedule we'd like to work on. So if you guys are all acceptable with that, that's where we'll go. As I say, we're not going to be talking about it tonight. And I'm not going to be setting comments on the law tonight until we get a draft together that everybody's had a chance to review. It makes no sense to start in with comments. So that's where we're going to go with that. As I mentioned before, we have a written update from Mike Harrington. I guess we'll start with water and sewer. Chris is not going to be here tonight. They're having some issues with water in Roxbury, and I don't know the water's been off in town all day, but I do believe they've got it back on now. So they're working at it. They're buttoning things up, but we also had another line break up on Carriage Hill, so he's tied down. Eli, you're here. Why don't you discuss a little bit about what you're where are we going?
That's some electrical issues beginning of March at the Denver plant. One that was electrical issue. Found out one of our pumps had just kind of crapped the bed. After some more testing, we figured that out. So got a new one, installed it. It's been working fine ever since. And for those who have been to our facility, there is a chlorine shed down the driveway a bit. That's where the chlorine disinfection takes place. For some reason, we lost power to the chlorine pump in that building. Electricians were unable to figure it out at the time, so we just looked at everything inside of the main building, and we pretty much decommissioned that whole shed. So no more having to heat it to keep anything from freezing. So resolve the problem and save some money on top of it. So that's pretty much it for now. We met with MTC about getting internet up there. I know there was a proposal and the project was looked at about a year ago, and we're trying to see where that stands and try to move forward. We have to get internet up there.
And you guys all got the quote, the cost analysis from your life based versus possibly using satellite internet.
So I did provide a cost benefit analysis to the town of MTC cable with the excavation work, the installation and the monthly charges. And also did the cost benefit of using Starlink, which obviously would not require any excavation work. Downside of the excavation is there's a lot of stuff underground that we have no maps of. We don't know where things are at. So you have phone lines, there's electric, there's water, we don't know. So, and, you know, not to have anybody possibly get electrocuted or to disrupt the process of what's going on up there. Started looking at Starlink as a potential option as well. Just that can be installed all in one day. Within 5 minutes, you're online. So, and it's a pretty substantial savings, I think, even in the long term, just based off of some preliminary numbers. The difference in the monthly charges, it would take, I think it was over 65 years for the installation savings to equal up to the difference in the monthly charges. So, my opinion is no brainer, but I don't make those decisions. I just offer advice and information.
What's their track record?
Track record, Starlink has been online since 2021. They have over a 99% reliability. They use low orbit satellites, which are only 350 miles above the Earth's surface. Even the little dish has a way of heating itself up to remove any snow. It'll withstand all the wind and rain and all that. And it'll automatically move itself to stay up with the constellation. So,
Okay, anybody else have any questions for Eli? Great, let's move on. Thank you. Planning board, I don't think we have anything from the planning board that I know of. Building and grounds, Mike, we're here in Grand Gorge. I'll let you go first and give a spiel about what we got going on here.
Well, nothing unusual going on with the civic center. It's a normal maintenance issue. It's a Rich Davis knows about. We have a lot of plumbing issues going on, a lot of leaks, finding things. We know the windows are bad, but all this we're hopefully will be rolled into this grant somehow. And the only thing I wanted to note is I've been assembling a little list of, since I'm here all day, the deficiencies I see. You know, and Rich has gave me a few things he has seen. And if anybody else that, you know, comes in here and uses it, if you see deficiencies, let me know so we can get them all assembled in one place. So when something happens potentially with the grant, we can have a list, we can narrow it down and, you know, chop it down, you know, something that the board can work with.
Well, I think this was a fairly large part of the GRI application was improvements to this building, and it's a community center in the grounds. So certainly it's going to be considered under the DRI program. It is helpful if we know going into this process what things need to be done here. So yeah, we can get a list or
It's a
something
range of,
like
you
that.
know,
Yeah.
priority and cost, you know. There's some things that I think Rich pointed out to me the other day. It's a foundation issue down here I was unaware of. A lot of leaking pipes right under here that I was unaware of too.
As I said, some of this stuff is probably going to be a couple of years out anyway before we get to do much of it, but at least getting planning in place and sending them help. So being able to know these things up front.
So that's just normal maintenance issues that any building has.
Yeah. Okay, as far as Roxbury goes, I guess you're all aware that we're in the middle of making the final things for our water project, and some of us have been, or some people have been without water today, and there's going to be some road closures and things like that. But we are getting near the end of that project, and we're doing real well. Their schedule is working out really well, so hopefully that'll resolve shortly. Other than that, I don't have anything else building and ground wise, unless you guys do. Yeah.
You know, one thing, not a good thing, for the people around here, if you want to use the civic center, you need to let me know and schedule, because it's getting really busy. It's filled up. Like right now, we have the cornhole league in the gym, little league out here on the field. you can't just assume it's gonna be available. You have to check, because I've got almost every day this month is booked.
That's good, it's getting used, that's important.
And Mike, is Mary Hines still part of the scheduling?
Who?
No.
Nope, just me.
Yeah, I think Mike is taking on the role, because he's here every day with the season meals anyway, so he's been handling the scheduling for us.
I know Ed and Mary at one time did it together, so.
So,
As far as I know, no. And Ray was doing it all, and
It's just nice to know, direct somebody, you know, just straight to you, because
yep, just give me a call. You'll come on by.
okay, anything else for building and grounds for anybody? All right, Bill, you're up, highway? What do you got?
Just want to bring up a few things, actually today we were chipping brush from the last snowstorm we had with all the heavy snow. We had a bunch of trees down. We actually finished them all, cleaned them all up today. Got 3 seniors that, are doing a work study, kind of a shadow work study. Last week we had a young man, Lorenzo D'Antoni from Grand Gorge. Tomorrow we have Taryn Davis from Roxbury, and the following day is a Xander Morse from Roxbury. Actually, Bill Shriver's been a big part of it. He's kept them busy and has a little schedule of what they can do, what they're going to do, and so on. It's working out pretty good. Sounds like 3 good young men. The truck that we actually mentioned 2 years ago that we ordered is actually finally in Watertown at Henderson Equipment. I'm finally getting the body plow and wing put on. Not sure of a delivery date, end of April, beginning of May, it sounds like. Other than that, just maybe I'll touch base on the resolutions. Sure. That are, the section 284 highway law, the agreement to spend highway monies that I just had to have you guys sign. If there was any questions on any of that.
At the top one?
Yes. It's a list of the roads that are scheduled to be storm oiled this year.
Is there any update on them talking about extending that? Because right now, what was it, 9 years for roads?
Yeah, it's still up in the air.
No.
We've talked with Chris Tagg and we've talked with Peter Overacker, and it's just no definite answers. I don't think it's gonna change.
Okay,
It's a just ask, no question to that for motion.
Can I ask a question?
sure.
Do you inspect the roads to see if trees are about to fall across the road? Because with this wind damage and windstorms.
Yeah, we inspect the trees.
Because John
There's-
Schultz Road has a lot of trees that look like.
Every town road in the town of Roxbury has a numerous amount
And
of
you don't
trees.
want to hear about it, you'll just.
No, not at all, but just, it would take a year for our crew to,
Well,
just
there are a
on
couple that are
trees.
about to, 6 inch in diameter, they're about to fall
Yeah.
around the road.
Unfortunately, they're all over
Yeah.
every road. John Sheltus was one that we hit today, and
Oh, you did?
yeah. Again, we don't get every single one. It'd
Right,
take
right.
us all year with a crew of 10 guys
I
to
know,
get
I
every
know.
single
I
dead
just
tree.
wondered how it went, but whether I should report it or whether you come and inspect.
No,
it.
I inspect myself at least every 2 weeks, all the
Oh,
roads.
good, okay.
As you all know,
Well, we have the power lines, I'll call NICEAG for the power.
Yeah,
There are 2
we
leaning on
can't
power
touch anything
lines.
near
And
power lines.
NICEAG is that, but there are other trees that just could be dropped into the forest, they don't have to be cut up or anything.
as you all know, we've had some pretty crazy weather. the last
Yeah,
few weeks.
no, that's been terrible this year.
We're pretty fortunate compared to a lot of the towns around us as far as the power outages. go.
Yeah.
They're off the most. That's all. Anything else for Bill? Anybody?
I do, I live right across from the fire department, and I guess it's the state has had a very heavy hand with their plow, and they have literally dug a furrow into the road. And all these big, and I'm not talking tiny chunks of macadam are laying all over. And somebody, I used to pick them up, I'm getting too old. somebody needs to do something to make them aware. They can't continue to do this. They just don't care.
Yeah,
The sidewalk in front of St. Philip, which we paid to have done, there is no sidewalk to step off it. Now it's like this, and not this year because God's been laughing at us for the weather here. The year before, we literally had this roll of grass. They were up on the lawn and they were plowing up the grass.
I see that a lot on the state roads.
Actually been Falkenberg, and one time had showed her what's going on, but doesn't seem to have done anything.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's out of my control, but I've sent several emails to them about different
Please.
problems from here to
Oh,
Margaretville.
really,
and that-
it really.
Kathleen is she's the point of contact.
Yeah.
with the DOT in this area, so she's the one that.
I called Kathy Van Wolfenberg,
Yeah.
and she told me to talk to the gentleman who told me he was retiring in 5 years and he hopes to be able to get the road fixed in that area. And I told him I hope to be allowed to see it. He tells other words.
All right,
Thank you.
anything else for highway? Move on to Stephanie, assessor.
Sure, so, but this Friday, by the end of this week, by Friday, we will have concluded this phase of our open hours, meeting with, people. We've probably met at this point with a couple of hundred people, including those that I haven't documented because I've been maybe handling them on the phone. So that's gone really well. So this phase will conclude this Friday, but the next phase starts in May. And so that's the traditional open hours that we call in our business, sitting with the roll. So we will be sitting with the roll 4 days in May, promulgated by law, 2 during the day, 1 evening, and 1 weekend. So I prepared the tentative notice. I actually posted it already in the town hall. It'll be in the newspapers next week, I think Bob told you. And I'll put it, I'm going to send it to David Rainberg, and we'll just get it up on the website right now. And so the reason that we're doing it early, that I'm doing the tentative notice early, is that for anybody that missed the first wave opportunity, they haven't lost anything, because that was just like phase 1, and now we're going into traditional phase 2. So I want people to feel good about that I was out of town, I didn't want to do it by phone, or I couldn't, or if I got my dog at my homework, you can still talk to us in May. So there's plenty of opportunity for that. And then that leads up to grievance, which will be the 30th. That's Thursday from 4 to 8 p.m. in the town hall. Yeah, Judith?
Do you have to like formally apply for the grievance, just theoretically, like, or do you just show up?
Well,
Is there a process?
Well, if you come to, that's a great question. So the question is, do you have to bring stuff with you if you grieve? And the short answer is yes, you do. When you come during open hours, you don't. So you're coming to listen, to share, we're going to share our story, you're going to share yours. So and by law, no proof is required at that point. Even if you come during open hours in May, you still are not required to bring proof. If you have proof, it's recommended. People have emailed me interior pictures to say, listen, this is what you need to know about the condition of my property. Good to know. So we appreciate that. So beyond open hours, beyond this open discussion, if you choose to grieve, which everybody is entitled to do, you need to prove your case to the Board of Assessment Review. If a petition, we call them, if a petition is sent in without proof of your estimate of value, by law, the Board of Review cannot do anything for you, because the assessor by law is correct, and it's your obligation to prove the assessor incorrect. So that's the only time that the burden of proof needs to accompany the petition, is when you actually file a grievance petition. You can do that with either, again, your interior pictures, if you have not provided them, with your appraisal from a New York State licensed appraiser, or maybe it's the deck page from your insurance policy that shows how much fire coverage you have against loss.
Anybody have anything else for Stephanie? you guys are getting through your interviews and processes fairly well, then it seems like.
Yeah, like I said, Ellen, we're wrapping it up. This Friday is our last day. We actually, we were gonna, originally we were gonna close it, back in February, we were thinking of like closing it early, but we really wanted to get to talk to as many people as possible. It's a productive process. So I enjoy it. I do.
We all do.
Well, because it's our opportunity to hear from each other. We may not agree, but it's important to be heard.
Okay, anything else, guys? Do you have anything for Stephanie, assessment wise? Okay, moving on. Code enforcement, I didn't see you, you didn't get a report?
Yeah.
We did? Oh, okay, all right. So you've all received that. Moving on. Denise, I see you're here. Got anything you need to say, or, you sent us a report as well, so.
Yeah, so we're just getting ready to open up everything. Daycare coming tomorrow. Water is next week. Hopefully it's not gonna be freezing. And we're getting ready to paint before we have a really busy season. So the Easter egg hunt, just even starting yet.
Pretty well filled up for your schedule for this year.
Yeah, it's really great.
That's right.
One question.
Sure.
Just wondering, several people asked me about playground up here. A group of people wanna go up there and just spruce it up, get some maintenance, clean up, and stuff like that, if it's missing bolts or missing some paint. But, I wanna check with you guys first to see if it's all right, but I didn't know if that falls under Denise's jurisdiction, because it's a park, technically.
Denise pretty much handles the curbside part, but if there's stuff, we'll just get it from here, get it back in, and stuff that needs to be done, and we'll look into it.
Well, I said, this group wanted to, like, just a citizens volunteer group go up and
Absolutely.
fix up a few things,
We'll always allow that.
I was gonna go up first and make a little list of
Sure.
what needs to be done first.
Sure.
You, a couple ideas, like, the Roxbury school, students always need a certain number of hours during
Sure.
time. So if you, were to come up with like, a bunch of things that need to be done that student could do while being supervised, obviously, but, with an adult there or whatever. You can contact the school and like, they're very good, because they help us like weed the gardens every spring and that kind of thing. And then also, I don't use the same thing. Also, Sam Bullock is like, he does the Boy Scouts, and they're always asking, like, he asks me usually if anyone ever has ideas for kids that are kind of an Eagle Scout kind of thing. So, if there were some sort of small scale project, that it's something that, could be an Eagle Scout kind of thing, he's a good person to contact.
I could probably talk to them, because they're scheduled to do a Pinewood Derby here.
Yeah, so if there's something, if things need repairs and, because the Eagle Scout projects, they can be, like kids raise money for it and, do repairs and it's amazing.
Good idea.
Well, they did, Karen Davis did a project for us in
Yeah.
Riverside Park.
Yeah.
On the rail, on the steps up.
Yeah, steps up
That was a long-term project. I mean, he had a lot of help, and it all came out very well. So certainly worth looking into.
I'll do that.
Okay. We're gonna hold off on grants for right now, so we can talk about the DRI. Peg is on her way. She had another meeting, so she's running a little bit late. So I'm gonna wait till she gets here to discuss that. She's closer to it than anybody, including you, so. When she gets here, we will discuss more about the DRI. I don't think we have anything for health officer that I know of. Under old business, I see, Andrew, you're here. I did want to just mention to you that as far as the intersection at 41 and Route 30 in Viga Mountain, I did have a conversation with somebody from the DOT, and she kind of directed me to somebody else, which I've not found out yet, but I'm trying to get a meeting together with the DOT to discuss some of the parking issues and stuff on Main Street, so and see what they can do for it, so.
Is there,
Yeah.
Is there anything we need to do, or I or anyone else needs to do to kind of put it along a little bit? Can I help?
Well, I'd like to have you be involved actually when we get a meeting set up, see if we can get something going with them.
Okay.
One of the things I discussed with them, which you and I talked about before, was the parallel parking in front of your store and in front of where the restaurant is as well. The state's opinion on that, according to this girl, is that they don't really like diagonal parking. They'd rather have parallel parking everywhere, which greatly eliminates the amount of cars you can put in there. So, which I think is a problem. So I think we've got to get into that a little more and discuss it. This girl was one of the planners that was here for another meeting, and I actually had an opportunity to talk to her about it. So once we get the Main Street work done and get things cleaned up there, then I think that's the time to get them in here so we can show them what we're thinking of and what we'd like to try to do. So I don't disagree. It's a problem right there. It's kind of a crazy intersection with three roads coming in plus a side parking lot coming in there. So this does get a little crazy. But
Okay, thank you.
with that being said, as I said, we'll do a discussion from residents if it pertains to the DRI or any of the grant information. I'd ask that you wait until Peg gets here because she's more adept at talking to them about that stuff. So she should be here shortly. But if you have any other comments from anybody that they'd like to discuss, we'll open up the floor now. Again, keep them brief. There's a lot of people here. So,
Alan?
yeah.
Tom Gebhardt?
Yep.
Hey, talk about the intersection, say 30 Big Mountain. We got a condition down here in town, which it should really have a stoplight at the intersection at 23 and 30.
Mm-hmm.
People come out of the Red Bell, the Quickway, no turn signal, people come down the road, signal like they're turning left, they go on Route 30, continue down. We got accidents ready to happen.
It's another issue. I know. I've seen it.
You gotta build around the corner, you have to almost encroach in the highway to get out where you can see.
Yeah. And I think that should be part of this meeting too, because that's another issue.
Yeah, I think it's something that should really be addressed before it's on the ones that get blacked out there.
Yeah, no, there's no question.
It's a very similar situation where the curves were, made for speed sort of, and no one slows down.
Part of the problem is that we are getting a lot busier. Traffic is a lot more than it used to be on both roads.
Exactly.
Especially the intersection here in Grand Gorge, there's an awful lot of
It's a
traffic.
tough spot.
And I don't disagree with you. But again, the hard part for us as a town is those decisions really come from the state. And it has to come from their engineers and planners, so it makes it difficult for us to be directly involved other than complaining and requesting and see what happens.
I spoke to Scott,
Nowak, Scott Nowak.
Yeah, on a couple of issues.
Yeah.
It's all part of the 5-year plan.
Yeah.
But I've been here since 1977.
It's not a 5-year plan.
It's when it expires.
That 5-year plan started about 40 years ago.
Yeah, and I had them out here just last year. Yeah, so,
I understand. And I've had conversations with them about that too.
Yeah.
We definitely have some issues we got to deal with. So I'd just like to get them to pave both main streets again so that we don't have trucks bouncing up and down and waking everybody up in the middle of the night when you go through.
And one hall right in front of this fire hall that wakes everybody up.
Yeah, it's a problem. I know it is.
You know, there is a record of a meeting that was held over that whole region when Tom Hines, was supervisor. And unfortunately, the end statement was, no one's been killed at that intersection.
Fingers crossed.
DOT would do nothing, nothing to change it.
That's what we're up against. with the
That's a disgrace.
No.
One reason, that hasn't been a fatality area.
That's all.
Understand.
That's why they.
I don't know who got it. Well, as poster child. I'm not one of them.
Okay, with that being said, go ahead, Robin. Quickly, we have an executive session.
Okay, so I just wanted to bring up, Friends of Roxbury raised money for the planters on Main Street. And we'd like to continue with new planters. We're gonna put 2 in front of the library, and so we have their permission for that. We'd also like to put two more, maybe in front of the food pantry and the old town hall. What, do we need to do anything to get permission for that, or how does that work?
I don't think so, with that being said, as long as it's not in the state right away, like in the road surface itself, on the inside of the curb.
No, it's on the sidewalk.
If it's on the sidewalk side, I don't think you would have to do anything, other than to us for permission, but I don't see any problem with that.
Okay, so we.
The only thing I will say, now that you bring that up, is I have gotten a couple complaints from the state for the planters that are in front of the watershed, because they're on the other side of the curb and they're sitting right in that drainage ditch. And it's, their concern is that it's a problem that it may be blocking the water as it goes through there. It's not, so
It's not problems.
that came from the state. They were complaining about that, so that's something we're gonna have to address.
Okay. Do we need to send you, a letter?
Why don't you do that? Send a letter of where you wanna put them, and maybe just show us on a map where you're putting them, and then we can bring it up. And move it over. I think that's the best way.
Yeah.
Oh, we should probably have the, Daryl's daughter do it.
Yeah, she's the building official,
Right,
definitely.
and then she's the one, so I think what you do something.
Okay, that would be fine, but it is on the sidewalk, which is town property, right? It's not private.
Okay, we do have to do an executive session. It will be brief, I promise, but we do have a couple of things we have to discuss with some employee issues. So the executive session is the purpose. I
make a motion to go on second session.
Second. All in favor? Okay. Sorry, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I
Let's look who was on the last.
yeah, I don't know how
How many
many,
do you need?
how
It's
many,
usually 4 to 6.
okay. If the people that were on the last one and are familiar with it and want to do it again, that's great.
And what it entails is when they verify their income and that they're eligible, they'll submit, and we do the scope of work that gets submitted to the committee to look at and approve or say, this might not be the way. And that's for the entire town, Denver.
And this is for the new CDBG that we just started.
Just got the release of funds, so we need to commit our first project by June 15th. So
Is it the entire town, Denver, does that include Van Gorge or not?
absolutely, the entire town.
Yeah.
The
Just check.
entire, the entire town.
Just checking.
What kind of income is one?
It has to be at or below 80% of median income. And 51% of the projects have to be at or below 50% of median income. Lots of math.
The median income being,
Delaware County median income. I'll get the numbers later. I don't have them off the top of my head, but. Any other questions about that?
One question I have, we did that DOT grant request. Have we heard anything on that yet for the sidewalks?
No announcement yet.
No announcement on it. That's something that good.
I have a question. If you're interested in being on that committee, who do you talk to you or to?
Yeah,
To
send me an email, head@project.org, and I gather that they would like me to give them a list.
Okay.
Yes,
did you say median income of Delaware County or of Roxbury?
Delaware County.
Delaware County, okay.
Delaware County median.
Gotcha, thank you.
Okay,
Okay,
now what do you want to know?
well, I guess probably a lot of people are looking for an update on where we're at with this, the DRI grant and what the process is, and I know you and I talk almost daily about it, but.
So we have a call with Julie Wheat, who is our rep for the DRI, tomorrow afternoon, at which time we'll have some information that we can actually share. We don't have anything right now because we're waiting for the next steps. On April 18th, she and some state agencies and the consultants are coming to do a drive through in both communities. The school is generous enough, well, it's going before the school board for a bus for that day because there is a little bit of difference, distance between, it's not.
You don't wanna walk from Roxbury?
No, I was gonna hitchhike with 12 other people.
Yeah, there you go.
So that's the status as of now.
I don't know if you have the information, when are the proposals actually due,
We don't have, this is what the meeting on the 18th is gonna be about, ironing out the entire process so we can come up with a calendar, we can get the word out, we can start holding it. There'll be a launch meeting with all the consultants and everything, likely sometime in early May. And that's where everyone will get all the information about how we're gonna go about soliciting an open call for projects. I just don't have the answers right now.
And when is, the committee is set now, right?
No, the committee is not set, so no appointments made.
Oh,
I suspect we'll hear from the call tomorrow.
oh, okay, when she comes.
When she calls. Coming on the 18th, she's calling tomorrow.
Little question, I don't quite understand.
Neither do I.
But that's with the civic center, since I'm here a lot. The work Cal would like to see done with the civic center. And all the other projects require an investor or a sponsor or something. So with the civic center, who's the sponsor?
This would be a municipal project.
Oh, okay.
And the discussion we've had with Julie, that municipal projects don't necessarily need a match.
Okay,
So
that's what I was confused on, I just didn't know that.
So this is a municipally owned municipal project.
Okay.
Same thing with the sidewalks, things like that, that would be a municipal project.
There will be, and we're not sure what the numbers are yet, but there will be with private properties and private buildings. If we have a program to work on that, there is going to be a requirement of some kind for a match by the building owners in most cases.
Say that again louder.
I said with privately owned properties like buildings, businesses, whatever, we're told that there will be a requirement for a match. I can't say exactly what the amount is gonna be, and I think it's based on the type of project and where it is and what it is, so.
And I
that
think
is
that's
all
something that the consultants and the state and the LPC will work on together. I know that in the small projects fund, there's $600,000 for like facade improvements, things like that. That's a 75% state share, 25% owner share, just like a New York Main Street program. It's from the state agency, and that's what it's in the DRI for if there's small projects. But the larger, housing development, mixed use development, full rehabs, I think that the state and the town board want some skin in the game by the building owner.
I don't think it's not a lot like the town can't purchase land, can they? Or,
I don't know.
If they see a piece of land that they know they could purchase and maybe put something potentially on that.
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
There's lots of questions, and I certainly understand. Judith?
So the local planning board, you said you'll find out tomorrow, how many names did you submit? Like,
We submitted 10 names plus county planning and CWC for policing economic development.
And how many are they?
There are 5 from Roxbury, 5 from Grand Gorge.
the DRI meeting, say 25% personal planning, but
That's for the small projects fund, the small, that's,
Okay.
they call it small, but
Right.
$600,000.
It's not small.
necessarily small.
So we only submitted, the minimum, like, so the state doesn't really have a choice of who's on the committee, or?
No, so this was the suggested number of people, and we submitted what the state wanted to see represented in the committee.
How many applications did you get?
36.
And you handpicked 10?
It was a discussion with Alan and the town board. I don't handpick anything.
I know, our understanding with the state.
The state is appointed. We have to submit
Every
a
person on the
roster,
committee is appointed by the state. So,
not by us.
not by us. We gave them a
What you're
suggestion.
saying is that they're having an not sent to the state, but then we should select representatives.
They asked us to give them a suggested list of what we wanted on the committee. And we sent that to the state. The ultimate decision for the committee members comes with the state.
Yes.
They will make the appointment of who's gonna be on the committee.
But, I mean, you understand that you only submitted 10 and they're picking 10, I think? So like, you understand where you kind of did pick, out of the 30, so like.
In the end, you picked.
We did a suggested list. That does not mean that list is final. We still have 30,
Not out
They
there.
don't know who we are.
some other names out there that certainly will, in the event that somebody is not put on the list, they will certainly say. And a lot of it is not, I think, because of who they are or what their education is. It's more, what have they done in the community? Where are they at? What kind of business
Can
are
they
they?
work together?
Can they work together?
Did you have a set of criteria that you used to select the
What,
names?
what Julie recommended to us, that there needs to be a committee that is available and that can work together and that can be fair, and there can't be a lot of refusals or potential conflicts. So when we went through the names, that's where we came up with a suggested list.
And in addition to the 5 and 5, who else is on there?
Delaware County Planning, likely Kent Manuel, and hopefully either Barb or Lynn Kavanaugh, Barb Puglisi or Lynn Kavanaugh for CWC Economic Development. So that's a total committee of 14, which is getting up there to begin with. And again, it was not easy, especially with the balancing. We also balanced natives and transplants. It's split right down the middle.
When these guys come to do their drive-through, are they coming open-minded or do they have projects they already want to look
They're
at?
coming open-minded. That's why they want to come and walk around and look around.
And this will be their first look at the community, so they have not been here before, so.
Well,
Right.
come on.
Will the community have the option to be there with the walk around with them, or it'll just be those LCP members?
So the community will have the opportunity to be at, we'll be in Grand Gorge. We're gonna stop at businesses. I can tell you about what time we're gonna be here. When there's a whole crowd of this initial walkthrough, it becomes counterproductive, right? But it doesn't mean that they don't want to have conversations with stakeholders and things like that along the way.
Are they looking at some of the projects that were submitted?
Yes. That's the groundwork. But again, we're taking a step back and doing another open call for projects.
I'm sorry, because I have no idea how any of this works, so this is a dumb question. You did so. So we were talking about the civic center, before, and like Mike was saying, if you see deficiencies, let it know. But like, in my mind, this is gonna be a big, fantastic project, the civic center, and we could make it into something grand. But I'm not sure I would have the ideas of how to do that. Like, I might be able to see a leaky pipe, but, so to put on the list, but like, are they gonna be sending project planner type people?
Yes,
Like,
there's
telephone
architects,
type
there's
people?
engineers, there's
Yeah,
community
that's-
development people. That's the best part about the planners, the consultants on the state level,
That's what
is
they
the
do.
skill sets.
That's
There's
what they
project cost estimators on the planning team. It's
So those are,
state consultants.
yeah, they're from the state. Okay, one other question, if I can.
Sure.
So the gentleman who was talking about kitchen codes, I didn't quite understand, he was saying they're in there now, but they had to be part of the DRI. They had to be listed as being on the DRI or something. What was it?
What we're saying is, we have a conditional, backer, who is saying that as long as our foundation's considering our project, they will pay back the back debt. So it's kind of a mutual, what's the word? Conditional moving forward, so.
So there is no
Okay, I
guarantee
wasn't,
that project will be chosen.
Exactly.
I wasn't sure, I might have misunderstood, I just wasn't sure what you meant.
Right. And say this is looked at as a big picture. It's not looked at as an individual project basis when it comes to what they're looking at. So there's gonna be a lot of things that, oh, it'd be great to do this, it'd be great to do that, but when they look at the whole picture, they may say, no, this isn't what our concept is for this, so I don't know. This is all new. So,
Yeah, what they want to see is these two downtowns transformed to the potential that they both have, right? And that's what this is about. It's about a downtown revitalization. And, you know, that can be a mix of several different things. You know, you want a walkable community. Everyone's saying sidewalks every other meeting, right? Things like that, lighting, you know, unified signage, things like that, smaller projects that can in fact be transformative. And then there's larger projects like this that will be equally as transformative, but collectively they need to all dovetail. That's the overarching goal of the program.
The day that they come, is it possible for us to give them, some background, if they're engineers and architects, so they know that we have the ability to carry forward the
There will
project?
be, I'm sure there'll be plenty of opportunities along the way.
Thank you.
And are any of the town board members on part of the local committee besides Ellen?
Nope,
Okay.
is it a paid position? No. All volunteer. They have 300,000 for it. I know that's for the state consultants, the state consultants. They take the $300,000 and they hire the consultants. We have
no say in that at
no
all.
say in that whatsoever.
That's a firm totally hired by the state. They're in there to do that. We have no control over that. That money came off the top before we got the announcement, basically.
Yes.
Many years ago, the apartments, I'm starting to ask backwards, so excuse me. That's the way I work Many years ago, the apartments for the seniors or over here was evaluated for an elevator. And it would have been installed outside, and it was possible. Is that something that could be considered? I don't know if that was proposed, but they need help.
So this again could be a partnership with Western Catskills, who owns and operates the senior facility, and the town as the attached municipal buildings. And this is when the conversations get robust with the state planners. You know, that's when you talk about the intricacies of each project. So yeah, this is premature right now.
I know,
Until we very much so.
thank you.
In keeping with transparency, is the list of the 37 people available?
Sure, I can certainly, I'll post it on the website on who applied or who provided their interest.
Hey, are there any more questions for Peg or anything else concerning town? We have to move on and do resolutions. I opened the comments back up because I knew Peg was coming. If there's nothing else, we'll move on. Go ahead, Robin.
Very gracious. So I know that you guys made a little about the Zoom meetings, how people could listen, but they couldn't comment, they couldn't participate. Just seems like there's a lot going on now with the town, with the DRI and other things. And it seems that all of the residents and taxpayers should have a chance to participate. So would you consider opening that again?
I sure like to see people smiling faces sitting in the same room with me.
But not everybody can do that.
Well, then that's why they can listen in on the Zoom. Most towns don't even do Zoom in. Very few do. Delaware County. So I would be happy to have anybody in the meetings. Normally in the town hall, we have a lot more room. We can have as many people as we need to in there. I'm leaving it up to the rest of my board, but I'm not in favor of doing comments on Zoom, period. That's my decision. That's my own opinion. The rest of the board can change that if they want, but
You have the ability to get the agenda and send in emails or messages.
the agenda is always on the town board, on the town website. Anybody that wants to speak can certainly put their name in ahead of time or show up and speak during the public comment period.
Robin, I can tell you that the OPC meetings will also be virtual. There'll be a hybrid approach and we'll have somebody monitoring Zoom and comments and questions will be able to be asked on the OPC public hearings.
As far as town board meetings go, at this point, we don't have any plans to do that, but it may change, who knows?
I would love to just ask you to reconsider that decision.
We're gonna miss your smiling face.
I will probably still be here.
What else could we do on Mondays for meeting nights if we didn't have anybody to look at? All right, moving on. We've got to finish up some resolutions. Anybody else have anything first? Last chance. Okay, moving on. Next resolution is the audited financial reports for the town clerk, tax collector, and water clerk for the year 23. We did that audit last month, and to my knowledge, there were no issues.
I'll make a
Second,
Second.
all in favor? Aye. We have an agreement to spend highway monies, which is a standard thing that we do every year. Bill puts together a list of the roads and locations where he's going to be spending his CHIPS money and all the other things through the summer for road upgrades. We need a resolution for that. I like that resolution. Second. All in favor?
And you all need to sign those.
Yeah.
We already did.
Before you leave.
Need a resolution accepting the resignation for Corbin Bowden as a mechanic for the highway. He will be staying on as a heavy equipment operator, he's changing his position from mechanic. And I believe you have somebody else you're putting into that position, right? Bill?
Yeah, it's the following, resolution.
Oh, sorry, they're on the, okay, sorry about that.
I'll make the motion for
Second, for Corbin?
Second.
All in favor? Next one is what I was starting to get ahead on here. I make the motions for Chilkus from mechanics helper to mechanic, and Richie Davis from HEO to mechanics helper. Make that motion. Second?
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we got a negative declaration request, or we need that for the Denver sewer upgrade, which we're proposing. Lamont is working on the plans to upgrade that plant. We're working on some grant money and things like that, but part of that process is to do a seeker negative declaration. So I just need a resolution that we can start that process. Make that resolution. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I see that she has on here a resolution for the streetlights in Roxbury Run. Based on the comments I got back from you guys, I think we decided we're gonna hold on that for now. Yeah, get some more information, so that's gonna be tabled. I can't agree, that's a lot of money for two streetlights. We need to appoint a new justice clerk, which we don't have, are not ready to do that yet. We did just get an application in a couple days ago. She has not been able to be appointed or been interviewed yet by the judges. So Diana's talked to her, I've talked to her, but she's not been appointed or interviewed by the judge yet. So we're gonna table that for now. And we'll deal with that at another date. We do have to do a resolution to hire Sandra Rockwell as our court clerk. She was our court clerk previously, and she's been filling in until we find somebody. This resolution will be retroactive back to 1/17. And the rate of pay will be $25 per hour for the hours that she works as a filling clerk, as a part-time clerk. Any resolution for that? Second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Eli talked briefly about the internet installation options, either Skylink or Verizon or MTC. I guess we need a resolution to go forward with that. I would like to, I know we've got a couple more things to look into yet. So if you guys are okay with doing a resolution, or do you wanna wait until we get the final cost? I think I'd wait until we get the final cost.
Yeah.
Okay, that's going to be.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we need to appoint a rep for the soil and water, this is Schoharie County Soil and Water, I believe. That position was held by Ed Rader. I don't know, Schoharie, Grand Gorge people are pretty much Schoharie County, I don't know if anybody is interested, who would be interested in that, Lisa or not?
I don't know anything about it,
I know.
so I would like to say no. I prefer to enter into things that I understand.
I think it doesn't, I don't think it has to be a person from the board, but we do need to find somebody else. So Mike, unless you're interested, I don't know if that's a conflict. So you'll, I think it's probably work, but I want to do it. If you want to look into it.
What's the?
It's very distracting.
It's the Schoharie County Soil and Water. There's a board, just like Delaware County has, and they asked for each town that's involved to have a representative on board.
You get some more information.
Yeah, I'll get you some information about it. So, okay. I'll find out and I'll get you some stuff. Thanks. Okay, committee appointments. I believe that didn't I give you a list, Diana, what we were doing with the committee?
No, I've got nothing for how we want to fill in for Ed spots or change around.
Okay, I wrote that up and I'll have to do it. I thought I had it here, that's fine.
So we're gonna table that?
Let's figure that for me. Okay, we have, Erie Roxbury LLC, which is the Roxbury Motels. They have a revised liquor license application. And they wanted us to, we did approve the previous application. I believe now that they're taking over the building, putting in a different name, so we just need to revise our previous.
Well, they wanted to add some different areas in the building.
Oh, okay. Does anybody have a problem with that? If not, we'll just go ahead and approve it. Also waive the 30-day hold. I'll make the motion to waive 30-day hold. Okay. I'll second it. All in favor? And we have it on here for a public hearing for ATVs, as I discussed earlier in the meeting. We're not going to do that now until we have a law that we can schedule, until we have a draft law in place that we can schedule a hearing for. So that will be good. We have a pre-approval invoices for Birdsville excavation for the Roxbury Grand Gorge Water Project. You should have received a list of those. Need a resolution that we can pay those.
I'll make that.
Second. All in favor? Aye. And we have made a few revisions to the code enforcement officer. The main revision was just that we would agree to cover the cost of training for any future training that the code enforcement officer needs. That would be split with Middletown. He's also the code officer there. So.
I'll make a motion for
And second. All in favor? Aye. I believe we got to get Kristen to revise that agreement and then sign it. Okay, Grand Gorge Methodist Church Cemetery. We've been mowing that in the past for how many years? Long time. Grand Gorge Church is working. I just had a conversation with them today. They're working on actually trying to get it so they can sell the church buildings because they no longer use the church of the residents. To do that, they've got to apparently do a subdivision to have the cemetery removed from that property. And so they're working on that process. I believe that we're still willing to continue the mowing. there's some questions yet, I've had conversations with our attorneys, there's some questions yet on what entity will actually end up owning that cemetery. Is that something that has to be dealt with through the?
Was the sale of the building responsible covering all the expenses for a while? Its fees?
It, typically, we've been doing it, I think that we could talk to them about that, that's not something we've done, but I don't know, I think when they sell it, they're gonna wanna have a clean break of any responsibility for the cemetery.
Does that include the parsonage too, or just the church?
Both buildings, yeah.
Is that only the Grand Gorge one or the Methodist?
It's the Baptist Church of Grand Gorge.
No, it's Grand Gorge, just Grand
Just Grand
Gorge.
Gorge. Oh, they're not.
They're not even affiliated with the same pastor.
Yeah,
I
it's
thought
totally,
there was a mold issue. Does the
In the
code
church?
officer have to look at that?
I'm not aware, again, that.
Well, that's why I thought they were.
They didn't have enough people left going to the church, there was the issue. I mean, I thought it was, by the end, there was, yeah, like literally less than half a dozen people were. So it just, they couldn't avoid the upkeep.
They've kind of reserved children.
Gilboa, Stanford, Harpersfield, Township, which I don't know where that is. There's like 4 or 5 or 6.
The township over.
Yeah, I know the lead minister has several churches she's got under her eyes.
So are we okay with finishing the mowing continuing to mow the church for now? Okay, yeah, so we're, all right,
I'll make that motion to.
second,
I'll second it.
all right, all in favor? We have this neon art display thing on our list. Diane or Denise, did you talk with them
I
again?
did, and I met with him and we went over a bunch of locations and then I gave him a schedule because he needed to understand when we had weekend events going on. And he's gonna get back to me, but I think he's shooting to do things, around the main holiday type weekends. And so he's gonna come up with like boards and stuff like this. So that would be like Memorial Day, maybe he gets done in July 4th, Labor Day weekend, like.
So do you want to get a schedule together and give it to us to approve, or
Once he gives me one.
once you get some, so we'll just table it for now? And we had some questions, comments concerning building permit fees for churches and nonprofits. I think you folks saw some of the emails about that. Kristen, you're on here. I might just let you briefly talk about that if you'd like.
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Sure. So the recommendation on this issue is that waiver isn't fully permitted in New York. And the reason for that is that it could be construed as a potential violation of the state constitution that prohibits a gift of public funds. And I would say that's the case in absence of a statutory authorization for that practice. So for example, the real property tax law does exempt these entities from taxation. The authority on this is limited. The primary authority is a 1955 comptroller decision, which of course is not recent. That's still cited in New York treatises as well as annotations to statutes. I also corresponded a bit with the Association of Towns on this, and they tend to agree that the waiver doesn't seem to be expressly authorized. There is some authority out there, just by way of example. Department of State has a fee schedule in which those inspections that the department undertakes when municipalities don't have their own staff, there's an unnecessary hardship waiver provision. So not directly on point, but I have reached out to the Department of State on that as well, just to kind of get their thoughts on where they came up with that waiver authority. But I think the general consensus is not to do it in the absence of some sort of state waiver via statute.
Acceptable to everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, can I have a resolution for that?
I'll make that.
Second,
So what's that mean, you're not gonna do any permit fees for churches or?
no,
Not gonna waive.
we're not gonna.
Not gonna waive them. They will still have
For a
fees,
building permit.
because it sounds like it's not really legal not to.
Yeah, it sounds like the state's telling us that we can't do that. All right, so I'll second.
So how much is the fee gonna be?
Well, it depends on the project. The building is based on what the project is and what they're doing and things like
is there any reduced fees or any leeway?
That's what they just said.
No.
It's not legal.
Okay, so we got a resolution, all in favor? Okay. And the building permit fee changes, we are gonna table, I talked with Hiram a little bit about it, we're going to look at a new building permit schedule. We don't have something in place yet, but we will not sure. So. Okay, all that being said, Chris and I, while you're on here, I did, I guess I didn't realize you were still on here when we talked about the previous stuff with, where was I here, sorry. The Methodist Church Cemetery.
Sure.
Just quickly give the board, I know you've spoken with their attorney, maybe you could just quickly give the board what your thoughts are on that. I guess the question is not whether we will maintain it, but who actually can end up owning it
Right.
once they subdivide it?
Right. And I would say that's probably the conundrum that they're in, that in addition to the subdivision inquiry. So
Yeah.
it's my understanding that there's the church structure, the parsonage, and the cemetery. So I think the first step is the church is actually merging. So I think membership, has dwindled a bit. So there just aren't enough members to stay open. So they've merged with another local church, and they are going to try to subdivide off the parcel with the cemetery and sell the other parcel. So basically a 2-lot subdivision. When their attorney reached out just to inquire about, what's been happening in the past and what might happen in the future. And I mentioned that I understood that the town has in fact been mowing. That's my understanding. That's the limitation of maintenance, right? There isn't really a whole lot else to do currently. So then the next question, right? Then the next question was, would the town be interested in taking title to that parcel? My suggestion was, is there any way that the church can still, it's going to be local, can the church still maintain title to the property? Because right now, while it may just be mowing, in the future, stones are going to need to be maintained. I mean, that's a cost. So maybe they can keep that in their name as a church and continue to maintain it in that way, the stones or whatever obligations there are to the families. So, they're still working on what to do with that parcel specifically. And she thought that was an okay suggestion to look into maintaining title. They were also going to explore whether a cemetery association might be interested in taking title as well. So those are the two options that they're exploring, which I think is great. I mean, that way, it's something that the church still, either A, the church still maintains title, or B, another entity pretty well equipped to maintain the cemetery takes title to it. So they are going to keep us updated on where they are.
All right, that sounds good. I just realized that the rest of the board hadn't heard that. I thought I'd ask you that.
No problem.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, moving on.
Brief synopsis of what she said, please. Brief, you can do it in 3 sentences.
Basically, the church wants to sell their buildings. So in order to do that, they have to do a subdivision.
Yes, okay.
And the cemetery has to be turned into a separate parcel from the other parcel, which is the church and the parsonage. And then the church can sell their buildings. And the question is who retains ownership, whether it stays with the church or whether it goes to a cemetery association.
So would it possibly like the Fairview Cemetery Association or the Roxbury Cemetery
Possibly,
Association?
that's what she said that we could do.
I can talk to one of the commissioners on the Fairview
Yeah.
Cemetery.
It kind of seemed to me that it's really not the best option to have it become a municipal property. And I guess that's not typically done in cemeteries, so this is all new to me. So,
thank you.
Sure. And if you do have a contact for the Roxbury Cemetery Association, if you could email me, that would be great, because they didn't seem to have that. So I would be happy to put them in touch with someone there.
Get you that. We can try
That sounds great. Thank you.
Okay, moving on.
One other thing, in your
Yes.
packets I did, which I should have given you in January, I apologize, is the, Good Neighbor Fund, which we still have money in,
Yes,
and that's for any purpose, because we've satisfied what we had to do with DEP for that one.
Yep.
So that could be used for mowing, is that,
what's that?
so that could be used for mow?
Well, yeah, it could have. That's the fund that was put together many, many years ago. And that was money that came from DEP, as part of their water filtration thing 20 years ago, probably. And the town of Roxbury has always had that fund in place. We use it for different projects and always use it to borrow for projects and reimburse back to that. It's different things like that. But there are no restrictions right now on it. It's restricted to have permission to use it, but that's now going away. So, and it's been in place for a while. Okay, moving on. You've been seeing the list of the water costs updated. You've seen the manual training status updating. There's many people still that have not done that. Harassment, discrimination, and violence prevention.
The one is being offered Wednesday, yeah,
Okay,
that's as soon as it's been offered since.
okay. Okay, then we have the audits. You, right?
I'll make that.
I'll second it. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Reminder, I think some of you are working on that.
Yep.
Highway contract. Okay, so what we got for tonight. Have a motion to adjourn.
Second part.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.